Today I've got a Victorian chaise which I thought I'd show you how to clean up an old French polish finish without stripping. There's lots of different ways of cleaning polish, but the most effective way I find is using wire wool and methylated spirits. There's gentler ways, but you know, when you've got something like this, you don't want to do it gently, so using water and soap and that sort of thing is not really the right thing to do at all, because I want to actually get back sort of through the discoloured finish and see if we can find some of the nice coloured mahogany again. So I need two things. Fine wire wool. You don't use a stripping grade wire wool for doing this, use a very fine wire wool, and methylated spirits. So you put quite a lot on the wire wool and then you start gently rubbing it. What I'll do is get most of it sort of wet first, because the sort of wetter the French polish, the sooner it will start moving. So, but the nice thing about this is you can clean it at different rates. So if you want to make the higher points of the carving cleaner, that's obviously where they would get rubbed, or if you were dusting this and caring for it, you'd dust this bit more than inside the carving. So it gives you sort of highs and lows, which makes the thing look more antique and more authentic. That's the other thing, if you strip it, you'll get one even colour coming through. But I don't know if you can see on the camera, but I can see it. The dark polish is coming away, and it is revealing a lighter mahogany under here, which in the past probably wouldn't be what I'd wanted, because when I first started restoring, we tended to stain everything really dark, because dark mahogany was considered better quality. But these days, I don't think people particularly like dark. But in this case, I'm just doing it because I want to give it some definition. It's just, all the wood has disappeared really and just left this not particularly nice colour. A lot of older furniture, when it's not looked after, sort of ends up looking sort of very mono-coloured. There's no high points and low points. Whereas if you wax something sort of carefully over a long period of time, you get burnished highlights, and hopefully you can see this. It's not taking very long, but it's sort of doing it to taste. You don't have to do it all the same. You know, I'll do the little top points like that little volute and the edge here, but I'm not going to do inside the moulding so much. This little point here I will, because it will have a little highlight then. But there's black sort of dirt all around it, which I quite like, so I'll leave that. I'll do this bit of mould, or carving I should say, down here. I'm just going to do the front, this front arm, and I'm going to do the leg just to show you. And then I'll do the rest of the chaise. But I think I'll probably put some polish on as well to show you in one video how easy this bit is. That's really coming nice and clean on the front now. So it takes quite a lot of scrubbing, because meths is quite a strong form of polish remover, but the nice thing is you have to actually make quite an effort. So if this bit's that you don't want to remove it, it won't really come off on its own. I'll still do it in there a bit, just to clean it up and smooth it up. And I think that's enough for that arm. So let's do the front leg. You tend to do things in the position they're going to be seen. And the reason you do that, if you turn this upside down and do it, you'll get the aging wrong when you take off the dirt. And it instantly starts looking cleaner and a bit more careful. And I wouldn't always do it like this, because sometimes I'd have a customer who wants it very clean and fresh. But this is this is for me actually. I'm going to put this in the shop, and I want it looking sort of happily looked after over the years with character. I don't want it looking too fresh. I'll just do around the side. Well, I know you can't see around the side, but I'm going to put some polish on, so it needs to be done properly. I'm not doing it just for the video. This is going to be how it will be finished. So, just a bit more on the front leg. I'm not going to do the inner side of the leg too much, because obviously something that's been sat on the floor and been dusted and looked after, people aren't going to get right inside. So just sort of clean it as if it's been waxed and dusted over years. Just a bit off that. The thing is, when you're selling something, you have to bear in mind that a lot of people have very clean, tidy houses these days. No dirt, you know, nothing out of place. So if you leave an antique looking too unloved, it probably won't sell, it will just sit there. So right, that's done as far as I want it to be done. So I'm going to get some tissue and just go over it. The reason I'm doing that is because when you use fine wire wool, sometimes the little bits of wire wool will fall out, and this just removes them, and it removes a little bit more dirt, as you can see. There seems to be a strange thing on some of these restoration sites where people say that when you use wire wool, you leave it in the wood. Well, you don't, you just take it off. If anybody's leaving it in the wood, it's because they're not doing a proper job. Right, we'll go around the leg. So that's definitely as clean as I want it. So we'll let that dry, because the mess will dry really quickly. Or evaporate. And you can see the wood's come out quite well. So I don't want any more off. And that's a lovely deep colour. It's looking very nice. You never quite know what colour the wood's going to finish at. You know, you take the polish off, and sometimes there's a very cheap sort of light wood underneath, and sometimes there's a nice wood underneath. In this case, I've been quite lucky, I think. Just taking a bit more off there. Because even the wet tissue paper will remove finish, especially when it's soft like it is now. But it will remove it much slower, so it gives you a bit more sort of say in what you're doing, as it were. Right, there we are. So, the next step, I wouldn't normally do it quite this quickly, because I'd normally go back, I'd go over the whole thing and then let it dry, but as I'm making a video, so I'm going to use my famous Morel's button polish. And this isn't even dry, but as there was French polish on here before, and I'm using a French polish, it doesn't really matter if it's not totally dry, because it will all sort of amalgamate. And I'm using a squirrel mop to put it on, which is probably how they would have done it initially, because you couldn't really use a rubber. And you can instantly see the colour coming up. It really is as simple as that. It's like a lot of these jobs, the actual work isn't that complicated, but the skill comes in knowing what to do on which piece and what's right and what's saleable. And also when you're restoring for private customers, you have to sort of listen to what your customer wants, because not everybody wants something really bright and shiny. So we do quite a lot of lacquer work these days because a lot of people want their modern furniture to be heat and water resistant. Right, so that's one coat, and if you look at that arm, it's like got a lovely rich colour coming out of it now. I'll take the camera across and I'll show you one of the other legs.